Good evening. I'm John Webster with the Daily Deuce and welcome you all to another exciting show. Today, we have another interview. We have it with the one and only, simply one of the best, Coach BButch McAdams. Coach, how you doing this evening, man?
I'm good. It's such an honor and a blessing to be on your show. And hey, thanks for the invitation, man. Always a great day to talk sports.
That's great, man. Thank you so much. You know, Coach, you're host of the In and Out of Sports podcast, and then you also have your own show, the BButch McAdams Show, man. How long have you been doing radio?
I've been doing radio since 1992. So that's what, 30 years? Yeah, 30 years, man. I had the blessing and honor to do something that I always loved. I've always loved radio as a youngster, listening to the various sporting events on the radio. And then in the late 60s, a guy named Petey Green took to the airwaves on WOL. And man, I was just mesmerized by this guy and how he controlled the microphone and how he had such a long reach. And then later, Miss Kathy Hughes, and then Harold Bell. So, you know, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to do radio. Now, I never dreamed that I would get the opportunity, but thank God I did in 92. And hey, the rest is history.
Well, you do a wonderful job on your radio shows and your podcast. I had the pleasure back in, I guess, 1999, 2000, back, like I said to you, Coach, when I had hair. You were gracious enough to have me on and talk about a golf tournament I was putting on back then, and I'll never forget that, how kind and friendly and it was just a great opportunity, a great experience to be on your show. So thank you so much.
Well, look, my pleasure. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about having a platform and sharing it. And as I always say, look, I am so humbled to be on the radio, to have thousands of people listening to me. But it's not about me, it's about the community.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've had a lot of community people come on your show. I know you've had Cornelius Green come on your show.
Oh, yeah.
You've had Mr. Horton's funeral home come on your show. You've even tried to help Larry Brown, a former Washington football player, get into the Hall of Fame. Your platform is very far-reaching, and you do a great job. Matter of fact, you know, I talked to a couple people this week, and I asked them, what comes to mind when I mention the name BButch McAdams? The first gentleman said, sports guru. I said, do you want to add anything else? He said, Webby, that says it all. That gentleman was Discombobulating Jones.
Oh, gosh. When I first started, he was such a mentor. Gary Digital Williams and some others, because I knew very little about boxing. And they took me by the hand and they led me through this, got me guests. So I will be always grateful to Henry Discombobulating Jones and Gary Digital Williams, two great sports people, but even greater men.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Now, this other gentleman, I got to put my glasses on for this one, Coach, but this other gentleman, he said, first of all, legend. Then he says, not only did he coach for over 25 years at a small, relatively unknown school in DC, Murray High School, he helped a number of student athletes get Division I scholarships. More important, he afforded a countless number of minority students access to a great education they may not have been aware of. That would be Joe Dobbins.
Oh, gosh, Mr. Dobbins. Well, you talk about one of my all-time favorite people for so many reasons. When you look at the epitome of a strong father and father figure, that's Mr. Dobbins. His son, Tony, as I always jokingly say, paid my rent and bought me a new car back in the day. But Mr. Dobbins is just one of the best human beings I know.
Absolutely. And he's a dear friend of mine. And
Yes.
you did a great job with Tony. I've watched Tony over the years. When he was playing ball, he played in some of my youth leagues and did great. I watched him play over there with you at Murray. Simply did a great job with him, Coach. Simply did a great job.
It
And
was
now
easy.
look at him.
It was easy. I just gave him the opportunity. I can't, I can bring something out, but I can't put something in. And Tony had it. All Tony needed was the opportunity and to play for a coach that really believed in him. And thankfully, he and I were a great combination. And it was so strange because, and it was humorous, as you know, Tony was not a highly regarded youth player. And a lot of people at the time, wouldn't let him play on the AAU teams, et cetera. But then when he came to Murray and I saw something in him and afforded him the opportunity, by the time his senior year, then everybody wanted him. And some of the coaches were trying to get him to transfer and all. But thanks to the loyalty of Joe Dobbins, his father, and Tony, he stayed with us. And I'm, forever thankful and grateful for that.
You mentioned an interesting concept, Coach. How you're fortunate and you're blessed that he stayed with you. And I think it was a great decision for him to stay, because now I see a lot of these kids now, I call them Mayflower kids, because like the moving company, they're going from different place to different place.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to realize the right situation for you. Okay. And look, Tony's sophomore year, his first year, we were 5-20. 5-20. But I kept telling people, and Mr. Dobbins will attest to this, I said, we're going to be okay. And I knew that we had Tony, we had about 3 or 4 other sophomores on the team. And I said, hey, we're going to be okay. So from 5-20, the next year we were something like 16-7 or 8. And then Tony's senior year, we flipped it. We're 20-5.
Wow. That's good stuff right there. And he stuck around for the good things that happened at the end. And, I was telling Joe the other day, I watched the NBA playoff games, and I see this guy sitting behind the Boston Celtics bench all the time, and he's working for the Boston Celtics. So a great education and everything through Murray, and also good kid, excellent kid.
Super.
Let me ask you this. And this is the last question I'll ask about you, because I know you want to get into the meat and potatoes of them, talk some sports. Murray, you had couple kids. Is one of them named Terry Coffee? Was that one of your?
Oh my goodness. Woo! Yes. Yeah, look, I've had some great players, and I put them in categories. For example, Tony Dobbins was the premier defensive player. I've never coached a player that was so good on defense than Tony. And case in point, he was the Atlantic 10 Defensive Player of the Year for his senior year. Okay. But Terry Coffee was the offensive machine. Terry Coffee, when people say, well, describe him. Hey, Adrian Dantley is 6'3". That's who he was. He was unstoppable. And he was a first team All-Met, as well as Tony was first team All-Met.
Okay. Great. I love hearing that stuff like that. Now let's delve into what you really like to delve into. Me too. Talking some sports. Let's talk about this NBA free agency. What's your take on that, Coach? What do you think with everything going on?
I don't like it. You know what? I don't like it. I like free agency. To me, free agency should be about going to a place that a team will pay you more money. Okay. But to jump from team to team to team, I mean, this is the transfer portal at the highest level. And, I don't know whether it's accurate or not, but on social media today it's saying that Kevin Durant wants to go to a team that already has 2 All-Stars on. You know what? I don't like that. Because if you're the man, unless it is a total toxic.
Coach, you just muted yourself. There we go. There we go, Coach.
Yeah. No,
I'm sorry.
I was just saying that I don't like so many people transferring. Well, not transferring, but I call it the transfer portal at the highest level, jumping from team to team to team. And I want to reiterate, I don't know whether they picked up, but on social media today, they're saying that Kevin Durant prefers to go to a team with a superstar or 2 already. And I go back to Charles Barkley. Are you a bus driver or are you a passenger? There's a difference. Okay, and some guys are not only passengers, they're Rosa Parks.
I totally understand where you're coming from. I used an analogy the other week where I said some players are Batman and then some are Robin. Every player is not Batman. And I think, in my opinion, with Durant, I think he is one of the best players in the league, without a doubt. I think he can score at the highest level and do whatever he wants to do. But I'm not sure of his interest in being Batman.
He's not Batman. I mean, let's look. And I know it's somewhat of a sacrilegious to talk about him because he's a local guy, and I'm proud of him and I admire him, but I got to call it as I see it. He's not Batman. He is a very, very skilled Robin, but he's not Batman. Okay.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I totally agree. Let me ask you this: over the years that you've seen all these ball players in the NBA, whose game does Kevin Durant remind you of?
Bob McAdoo.
Wow.
That real quick, baby. Bob McAdoo. Wow. So I tell the younger fans, there's nothing new. There's nothing new. Everything that you see today, we've seen before.
Yep.
And if you look at a Steph Curry, hey, Pete Maravich. Okay. But Bob McAdoo was not quite as tall as Durant. McAdoo was about 6'9" or so, but he could step out on the perimeter and hit that jump shot. So I'm saying McAdoo.
You know what? I never thought about it, but that makes all the sense in the world. When he first started in Buffalo, I think he was leading the league in scoring, wasn't he? And then he went over to the Lakers and won a couple championships.
But look, now this is a lot of folks don't know this. At one point, and it was a brief time, but do you know at one point, Buffalo had a front line of Bob McAdoo, Moses Malone, and Adrian Dane. Now, if they had ownership, or I don't know what happened, but if they had kept that front line together, who knows how many championships or championship opportunities they would have received.
And was Randy Smith in the backcourt with that team then?
Absolutely.
That was a rough team. That was a rough team. But
yeah,
things happen. Well, let's talk about some other free agent moves. Malcolm Brogdon going to the Boston Celtics. What do you think about that? Does that help Boston? Does it push them over the edge?
I think it helps them because they are in desperate need of a legitimate, prototypical point guard. All right. But now the question is, what other moves will they make? I think they need another shooter. I think they need a a power forward, okay? But Brogdon definitely is an upgrade because you got to take the ball out of Tatum's hand. And when I say out of his hands, I don't mean to limit his shot attempts, but put him in position, have a floor general, a floor leader to put him in position of strength and not weakness.
Wow. Now, with the team that they have right now, you say another shooter. What shooter, if you were the GM, what shooter would fit into that scenario in Boston? Who would you want there?
You know, no one just jumps out, and it doesn't have to be a star player, but someone that can consistently hit that shot when Tatum and Brown are double teamed. Okay. But they need leadership. They need to learn how to win. Okay. And Tatum is a very talented player. But to me, as we say on the playground, he hasn't displayed consistently that dog in him, man.
Now, let me put you on the spot as a GM.
Okay.
Would you ever consider splitting the two of them up?
Well, it depends on what you get for them.
Okay.
Okay. If would I take a chance on trading a Brown for an Anthony Davis? Yes, I would.
Okay.
Now, Anthony Davis has been hurt more than Luther Vandross. Okay. But a rare talent, still relatively young, if he's available, you have to take that opportunity. Okay. But I just use that as an example. Only if it was a offer or deal on the table that I couldn't refuse.
Okay. So you keep the nucleus of what they have. They were very close last season, and you add a shooter and you add a legitimate, as you say, point guard. Okay.
I think they have a shot. You know what? They have a shot now. What does Milwaukee add? Okay. Because I still think that Milwaukee has to be in that mix. I don't think much of Philadelphia. Miami can be in that mix. And so, you know, they're going to be there, barring major injury. They're going to be there. But once they get there, then what can they do? Because Golden State isn't going anywhere.
Now,
they're not going.
You mentioned Golden State. Now, they made a very subtle move, I'll say. One, they re-signed Kevon Looney, which I think they needed to do. And then they went and signed DiVincenzo, used to play at Villanova. And that gives them another outside shooter, 3-point shooter. And they let Otto Porter go into free agency, and they let Gary Payton go into free agency. What do you think?
I think it's a good move. I think it was a good move. And, you know, as you're talking, you'd asked me a question a moment ago about a shooter. You know, maybe a guy like a Seth Curry for Boston. You know, somebody, look, you don't need the superstar, but somebody that is a professional shooter.
Now, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about this local team, the Washington Wizards. I see the look on your face, Coach. I see the look.
What are we going to talk about?
They need a lot, huh?
Well, I question their ambition.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, what is their goal? You have some organizations, Boston, LA, Milwaukee, their Golden State, their goal every year is to get to the finals. And win. I think the Wizards' goal is to possibly make the playoffs, and they're excited. They are just, oh man, they are just enthusiastic if they can win around. And that's how they manage the team. That's how they draft. That's how they go after their free agents.
Let me ask you this then with them. If they add a point guard to go with Beal, Porzingis, Kuzma, does that make them in the running for a deep run in the playoffs? Does that help them if they can get that point guard?
Whoa. Well, it depends on who the point guard is. I mean, yeah, Steph Curry, yeah, but no, they need, in my opinion, they need two players. They need a point guard, and they got to get better athletically. Okay, I like Porzingis if he can stay healthy.
Okay.
Bradley Beal is again the ultimate Robin. He's not Batman. Mm-hmm. He's a good number 2 option, but if he's your number 1 option, you're only going to go for so far. It was not a coincidence that Bradley Beal had one of his, if not his finest year when Westbrook was here. Okay. Mm-hmm. So right now, the Wizards would be lucky if they get to the play-in game. You know, I don't like their roster. I really don't.
So if you're the GM there, you're going to tear that down a little bit more and start over?
Well, you can't start over because you just dedicated so much money to Bradley Beal. So you can't start over. You just have to hope that Davis, the first round pick, hits it. And then maybe if they can make another move or two. But right now, other than Beal, the only untouchable I would have would be Porzingis, because I really like him if he's healthy. Okay, but I would package Kuzma and maybe Hachimura.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would,
yeah.
I would package maybe them 2 for a player, you know, if I could get something. But that goes back to being ambitious. Mm-hmm. See, it takes ambition to do something like that. I don't think that the Wizards are that ambitious. And again, for them to make the playoffs and win around, they are ecstatic. Oh man. They're probably calling and throwing a parade, you know, if they could go to the second round of the NBA playoffs.
Let me ask you about this last person, this last guy, and where he may end up. I mean, he opted back in Brooklyn, but there's still talk he may move somewhere else. Kyrie Irving.
I wouldn't touch it because he's got a lot of ability, but you know what the best part of ability is? Availability.
Ability and availability. I like that.
Yeah, and he's not always dependable. He's not always available. So I wouldn't touch him.
Even if you were close and that's the last piece you needed, you still wouldn't touch him?
Well, but again, he's proven to be toxic. You know what? Now, I mean, he can give and he can take away. So he's got to go with the right team.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there were many people shedding tears when he left Boston. Okay. No. And it will definitely won't be any tears shed when or if he leaves Brooklyn. So he has to go with the right team. Maybe a Miami. I don't know. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of another team that would be good for him.
What about that team out west called the Lakers?
That'd be a circus. I would love to see it from the drama aspect, because now you're talking about LeBron, you're talking about AD, you're talking about, well, let me say Anthony Davis, because in this area, AD is Adrian Danley, and anything else is sacrilegious. Okay, so Anthony Davis, Westbrook, Anthony, and now you add this guy. Oh, it would be drama, man. It would be drama. And do you think that would work? Unless they change the game and you have 2 baskets and 3 balls.
I agree with you. And plus, if I'm LeBron, he's already been in that movie once in Cleveland with him, and it didn't really work well there. I'm kind of like you, Coach. I think he's very talented. I think he's one of the best players in the league. Availability and ability is very important. You just got to really think. I think, and I don't think there's a coach in the league like this right now. I think you have to have like a Red Auerbach mind or Phil Jackson personality in order to put that together, because you're going to have the patience of Job to deal with Kyrie Irving sometimes.
Well, I think, Red Auerbach and Jackson and Riley, great coaches. But, when you mention Job, I think the only person I know that walked this earth that could make that work would be St. Peter. Okay. So, meaning that Kyrie is who he is.
Yeah.
And basketball is chemistry.
Yep.
You got a hand. You don't have 4 thumbs or 3 index fingers. You have a hand. And a 5 is like that. And raise your hand out there if you knew that Westbrook was a bad fit to be on the court with LeBron James. LeBron needs the ball. Westbrook needs the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make Westbrook a guy coming off a screen. Can't do that.
Mm-mm.
Can't bring him off the bench. He's not going to be happy coming off the bench.
It's going to be somebody's headache, Coach. It's going to be somebody's headache.
It is.
But like you say, it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting next season. Let me move into one other subject. I want to get your opinion on it. UCLA, USC going to the Big Ten. It seems like college football now is eventually going to break down where you're not even going to have conferences. You're probably going to have just 2 major divisions, like 25 or 30 teams on each side. What do you think?
That's it. It's about the money. It's about football. I mean, there's no long conversation about that. Now you got a super conference with Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, with Penn State, USC, UCLA. Hey, it's about that TV money. It's about the Benjamins. It's about football.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, like you said, it's about the money, and a lot of things are going to change. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I'm hopeful they will never, ever go into a conference because I think they are great independently, but we'll have to see what happens.
We'll have to see.
Hey, Coach, this has been unbelievable. It's been a treat for me. Thank you so much for coming on the Daily Deuce today. I greatly appreciate it, man, and hopefully we can have you back in the future.
Well, you got me, and I like the deuce instead of the threes. As Tony Dobbins would tell you, one of my favorite sayings, hey guys, fast nickels always beat slow dimes.
I like it,
Thank
Coach.
you.
I like it. Hey,
thank
you all, thank you for watching the Daily Deuce today. Great interview with Coach BButch McAdams. We're going to see you again next week. Take care. Watch some sports. Have a great time. See ya.